Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation, Are Kids Tired of Being Online? I'm Barbie Clark, I run Family Kids and Youth, and I'm joined today by George and by Nyasha. And the three of us are going to take you through this quite quickly. Any questions you have at the end, then please just text or email us. So Wellbeing and the Internet Study we launched in 2018. It's been run every year since then, and it now has tracking data which charts the change in children's media use, the growth of influencers, how social media and gaming has supported them through lockdown. And having spent the last decade looking at the impact of social media and gaming on children, from Facebook and Grand Theft Auto back in 2009 to Zoom and Roblox this year, Family Kids and Youth is well aware that concern about children's online media use has not diminished. Children's media landscape attracts many headlines, and this has often been associated with a causal link to children's mental health. So this year, we looked at the long-term impact of COVID-19 on children. We wanted to establish the benefits and the drawback of lockdown for children and their reliance on the internet. What do children gain from using social networks and gaming sites? What are the effects on children's mental health through their engagements with online media? It was launched really because of Grenfell Tower back in 2018 and also the Manchester bombings. And there was a lot of discussion really about children's mental health. And these were some of the areas that we've, over the last 3 years, we've actually covered. So this year, we talked to over 1,000 children, as we have done every single year, nationally representative, aged 7 to 16. We ran it this year in the Easter holidays, and we also ran 8 friendship focus groups with year 6s, year 7s, years 9 and years 11. There were 4 children in each group. We find that's easier when we're doing online research. We've done all our research online for the last 15 months. What's interesting actually this year is that we talked to the same children in years 7, 9, 11, as we had done last year, because we wanted to see how they'd got on, what was the difference, what had happened to them through lockdown. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But I'm going to pass on now to George, who's going to take you through young people's use of social media.
So now we're going to look at social media and the ways young people are communicating. This is going to go back all the way to 2018. I'm going to talk through the changes we've noticed, and also we're going to move on to gaming as well. So we asked young people which of these apps and websites that they use. So these charts we're going to show you today go all the way to 2018 and are showing the top 12 apps. Just so you can read the graph slightly easier, the dark green bar is the data from 2021. YouTube remains the most popular app, although its popularity has fallen significantly. Other popular apps this year are WhatsApp, Instagram, and Snapchat, as well as Facebook, although significantly lower than YouTube is now. Interesting use of email, iMessage, FaceTime, and Skype have all decreased significantly year on year. Looking at TikTok, its upward trend continues in popularity this year. Our research also shows that 1 in 10 young people are using Zoom, but this year Skype, Google+, and House Party have decreased significantly. So looking at those same top 12 again, but via age, with blues being 7 to 10, orange 11 to 13s, and grey 14 to 16s, we can see that the use of Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat are significantly higher among 14 to 16-year-olds. You can also see that YouTube is highest amongst those aged 7 to 10 at 75%. And although YouTube is still the number one, its popularity has decreased significantly for 11 to 16-year-olds. Looking then at the top three, we can see they're very similar amongst all ages, except for 14 to 16-year-olds, who are more likely to be using Instagram. And finally, we can see that TikTok appears in the top 5 for the first time this year for all age groups. It's worth remembering that most of the apps that we see here have age restrictions in place. TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook all require users to be aged 13. Interestingly, WhatsApp requires users to be 16 if they are within the European region. The figures here suggest to us that these age restrictions are not being adhered to. There are some very clear gender differences when we look at these apps as well. We can see that boys are more likely to be using apps like Twitch and Discord, which we know to be very heavily associated with gaming, whereas girls are more likely to be using social media apps such as TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat, which we know have much more of a focus on socializing and communicating with their friends. And next, I'm going to show you a film that kind of goes over how young people are using their devices.
During lockdown, I was spending like 10 hours on my phone, but now like I've gone back to school, it's like gone down like a lot more. Like it's like now 3 hours.
I spend most of my time online after school, to be honest, just like watching YouTube, watching Netflix, or texting people. So I'd say like 4 hours, maybe 5.
Because like I'll do my work on my laptop and then I'll use like my iPad to like maybe like watch something, have a bit of Netflix on in the background.
Now going to talk a little bit more about the gaming and the games that these young people are playing. So again, here in dark green are the games we've looked at this year in 2021. We can see very far ahead there, Minecraft, most popular this year and has only really been gaining in popularity year on year. Next, we can see that Roblox is being used by 2 in 5 young people. And then after Fortnite, we can see that Rocket League and Among Us are being used by 1 in 3 young people. New apps that we kind of really saw coming into popularity in last year's research. Interestingly, 7 to 13-year-olds are most likely to be playing Roblox, 51%, compared to only 24% of 14 to 16-year-olds playing Roblox. And then Among Us is played mostly by 7 to 10-year-olds. Looking at the gender differences of playing games, we know that boys are still significantly more likely to be playing games than girls, but we have seen an increase in girls playing games since 2018. And despite boys playing significantly more games than girls overall, we have found that this year, both Candy Crush and Animal Crossing are games that girls are saying they play more than the boys are. Interestingly, for the first time this year, we found that there is a game equally enjoyed by both boys and girls, which is Roblox at 43%. And I'll pass back over now to Barbie to look at how young people are living in lockdown.
So yes, let's have a look at living in lockdown. And we can see that family and friends have continued to make most young people happy. Holidays, not surprisingly, have gone down in happiness stake, but video games have gone up this year quite considerably. Boys are more likely to say that video games make them happy than girls, 8 out of 10 boys compared to just half of girls. They've all decreased since 2019. And as we've said, boys are more likely to report video games make them happy than girls. Now, if we go back a year ago, we asked young people the same thing. young people are split on whether they're more or less happy in lockdown. We said, would you say you were more or less happy? And over half said they were less happy. And 47%, so under half, said they were more happy. Half of girls and half of boys, just over, saying that they were less happy. And you can see that the most young people who said they were less happy are the 14 to 16-year-olds at 56%. Those were most happy or more happy. Again, sort of similar responses from girls and boys. But the ones that were most happy a year ago were the 11 to 13-year-olds with 51%. It went up to 51% there. So what about this year? I'm going to hand over now to Nyasha, who's going to tell you how young people have felt this year about lockdown.
We found that over half of young people say that they are happier now than they were before lockdown a year ago. And as you can see here, it says about 53% of young people said that they're more happy now in April of 2021 versus May of 2020. We've also found that there's an increase in happiness seen across both genders for both boys and girls. About 59% of 7 to 10-year-olds say that they are more happy now, and about 53% of 14 to 16-year-olds. So family time and being at home has made young people happier now than they were a year ago before lockdown. And we found why children are happier specifically in terms of family time, which is 27%. Being at home and not at school was 20%. The end of COVID and the return to normal life was 18%. And friends was 11%. So no school and more time with family have been some of the best things about lockdown for some children. We found that 36% of all children say they've enjoyed the amount of time they've been able to have spent with family. And about 34% of boys and 38% of girls say the best thing about lockdown has been time spent with family members. We've also found that boys are more likely to say that they have enjoyed not having to attend school or homeschooling compared to girls, which is 22% versus 18%. So a lack of freedom and not seeing friends have been the main downsides for lockdown. So we have about 46% of children say that the worst part of lockdown has been missing their friends. And girls are more likely to cite this, with about 49% saying that missing their friends has been the worst part of lockdown. We've also found that being stuck inside and having nowhere to go is more common amongst older young people, so about 33% of 14 to 16-year-olds. And girls are also more likely to dislike the sense of being stuck at 28%.
So thank you, Nyasha. And let's have a look at what most young people are most worried about in 2021. We asked them if they ever worry about the following. And as you can see, tests and exams are there, but they've gone down since last year. So we're looking at the green chart here. Schoolwork is also there, but again, it's gone down from last year. Worrying about family members is more or less the same, and also what others think about me, same as last year. But arguments with other people have gone down quite considerably. Girls are worried significantly more about what others think of them, their friends, and arguments with other people. And 14 to 16-year-olds are also worried more about their future career. And perhaps that's not surprising, particularly given the issues that have happened this year about exams again. 1 in 5 young people think they're addicted to social media, and 14 to 16-year-olds particularly are more likely to think they're addicted to social media than younger children. So you can see that that's gone up, the dark green bar there has gone up quite considerably compared to the previous years of 2018, 2019 and 2020. A friend, more or less the same. I have a friend that's addicted to social media. Those figures are more or less the same, but the I am addicted to social media has gone quite considerably up. 1/3 are talking to strangers online, especially TikTok. As you can see, 67% say no, but 1/3 are saying yes. And that's gone up actually since last year and the year before. What they're actually talking to people that they don't know online is particularly the case on YouTube and on TikTok. And you can see that that's gone up quite considerably since the grey bar there. So the yellow bar shows this year. So are kids tired of being online? And we're going to show a film now, The Downside of Being Online.
I think it's getting less and less because in year 7 and 8, people, I don't know, I feel like everyone's just matured a bit more. Not like some people obviously haven't, but I think most people have realised that they don't need to like spread rumours and say stuff about people, and they kind of just stick to themselves. A lot of people at our school, and like I think especially like quite a few of the girls in our year, they say like some really horrible stuff. Like us four like stay out of that, and we kind of just like stick to ourselves, to be honest. But like a lot of other girls don't, and they've been like really badly like affected and got really upset over things like that.
Yeah, I think it was mostly like the really, well, they consider themselves like popular girls who, if there's like one popular girl and she doesn't like someone who's in the friend group, she makes everyone not like them, so they're just left alone.
It's like probably people just like send me pictures of like random stuff, but the thing is people send too many things and it gets blocked up in your phone.
So basically, there's on Fortnite, there's like competitive Fortnite, and there's like something called trios, and like everyone is just arguing over who wants to be in the best trio and stuff.
When like the teacher will say like, if you wouldn't like say it to like their face, don't say it on the social media.
Yeah, because I've had someone call me stuff, but then I asked them to say it in front of me, but then they won't. Because they sit behind a screen, but then they won't say it in front of me.
Weird, because like obviously I don't know if like not necessarily challenging, but a lot more different. There's like on TikTok, people have been posting very weird things, like things to scare people and stuff. Yeah, that's what annoyed. Like also, what I've realised from beginning of lockdown is a lot of chain messages have been sent to me. Because people just get so many of them and they just get sent to me because like they have nothing to do. Yeah, like I know quite a few of my friends have got quite upset about it, including me. I got quite upset at times because I would get really mean messages of just like the silliest things. And then like my friends get really like panicky. Like I have one friend in school and she like believed everything she saw. So she thought like when everything was about like World War III was gonna start, she was like really panicking. She got really bad anxiety about it.
Because like online, like someone could say something like say something online but not say it in real life, like they'd be afraid to say stuff in real life, but on PS4 you can like just say anything and then just get away with it, basically.
So that was our groups from last year, but we also did groups this year. And just to show you the differences, here is what the kids had to say about being online this year.
I think they're making it a big deal because, like, without social media, like, also people make friends. They make friends from social media, so like you can explore the world a bit more in depth. Like you can look up stuff, like you can see stuff. Like although some stuff is bad, you learn from that bad things and make sure not to do that next time.
So like on Xbox, you're kind of like it's kind of like a conversation starter because like you're talking about what's happening in the game, and then it like carries on you talking about stuff. But like texting, it's kind of like you got to think about what you're saying and then text it.
I think it had to be internet because everything happens through it, and without it, like I wouldn't be able to keep in contact with anyone apart from like my family.
2 in 3 young people, 2/3, believe that most young people know how to use the internet safely. However, over half of young people are concerned about keeping their personal details private. It is worth noting that 60% of 11 to 13-year-olds have never changed their privacy setting on social media. Looking slightly deeper again, we can see that girls are significantly more likely to think that social media can create body image worries. And the older part of our survey, the 14 to 16-year-olds, are much more likely to have concerns about online behavior, these negatives that are creeping up on these young people as they're using these devices and platforms. We also asked young people in our survey how much they agree or disagree with the statements seen below here. And from this, we've learned that girls are much more likely to agree that social media can make people worry about their body image more than boys, 77% of girls rather than 67% of boys. And this is much more likely with girls aged 14 to 16. We can also see here that those aged 14 to 16 are much more likely to have concerns about online behavior. And girls are significantly more likely to think that social media can create body image worries. And we have a film here just to let the young people themselves show you how they feel about talking online versus real life.
Like, I prefer like seeing people face to face, but then obviously where we're always on technology, it is like easy for us to use FaceTime and things like that.
I prefer to speak face to face because through text, someone could say something like they could act really happy, but then behind the screen, they could actually be really sad and could be just faking it. So it's nice to see someone face to face ask actually how they're feeling.
I live with my mum, my dad, and my two brothers, and like I get really like worked up sometimes, and like I kind of struggle to be around them like all day every day, just obviously because we haven't been used to it. So then when I'm just really like not wanting to be at home, then I'll just like call one of these three, and then we'll just go out somewhere or go on a walk or go to the park or something, and I feel like it's really like a good kind of like escape.
Thank you, George, and thank you to all the young people who took part in our research, of course. What do we think's happened this year? So 7 to 10-year-olds are more active online than they were last year, with a significant increase in the proportion that are speaking to close friends, family, and acquaintances online. And of course, this has been accelerated massively by lockdown, and is actually viewed as a positive outcome. Young people have continued to use social media and devices more this year than last year. They had already been beginning to use social media and devices more last year, and particularly boys on games consoles and girls using social media. And this year has also seen a rise in popularity of the game Roblox. We've heard a lot about that in this conference, especially amongst those aged 7 to 13. And interestingly, equal numbers of girls and boys are actually using Roblox. TikTok's popularity has seen the greatest shift since last year, with over a third of 7 to 16-year-olds now using the app, and it's most popular amongst girls and 11 to 13-year-olds. The effect of lockdown has resulted in a significant increase in young people talking to their friends online more than in person across the age range, which is not surprising at all, of course. And what is, I think, interesting, given the sort of stories that we're reading in the media at the moment, worries have actually reduced overall compared to last year. 7 to 10-year-olds and 11 to 13-year-olds are less worried about schoolwork and tests and exams than in previous years. And arguments with other people have also become less of a concern to them. Over half, 53% of young people say they're actually happier now than before lockdown. And the reason for that is actually because of spending more time with their family, of course. However, young people are more worried by stories in the news than they have been in previous years. And they've actually been listening, of course, to the news much more than they would have done previously. And of course, that really is because of the impact of the pandemic. So whilst happier than a year ago, there are some long-term effects of lockdown that's affecting young people's mental health. There's an increase, for instance, in those that feel that they're addicted to the internet. And 1/3 of 7 to 16-year-olds are talking to people that they don't know online. Lockdown has prompted some young people to reflect on their use of social media, particularly 14 to 16-year-olds. And we haven't seen that so much before. There's been a sort of slightly more increase in discussion about how they use social media, but it really has come out this year. They're conflicted about the role that social media has played in lockdown, and in particular, they value its role in letting them keep in touch with friends. Of course they do. But around a quarter of young people are feeling overwhelmed by social media and gaming. But they've actually felt under pressure to keep in touch with friends and family. And that's increasingly so for particularly 14 to 16-year-olds. There's an increase in concern about body image, boys and girls. And I think that's something that we need to be keeping a close eye on. And of course, that's brought about by continual online presence. And the nasty side of social media is also a concern, with a greater awareness of hurtful comments and arguments leading to a breakdown in some relationships and friendships. Young people have developed a new appreciation of face-to-face contact with friends and family in school, and they certainly don't want a return to lockdown. So really this emphasis on being online, doing their lessons online, talking to their family online, talking to their friends online, although it's better, of course it is, than it was last year, they really are beginning to sort of question, do I need to be online as much as I am? And should I be online as much as I am? So thank you very much for listening. Do send us any questions that you have about the research. And a big thank you to the children and young people that took part this year. And also to, of course, to Nyasha and to George for their part in pulling all this together. It was a huge piece of research. We've only shown you a minor part of it. Thank you.